Hello there, and welcome to the True Pop Culture 7 show. I'm your host, True Pop, here to laugh and think about pop culture stupidity. Yeah, unfortunately, Mr. Bug could not make it for today's show, but I thought either way I'd be breaking down the absolute mess that is the Flash film. Uh, Very keen to get stuff out of my chest, essentially. Uh, yeah, I just went to the cinema to see it. I know I shouldn't pay full price for the ticket and whatnot, but I like going to the cinemas. Uh, I'll probably discuss it with Mr. Bug in the next show as well. Uh, we'll probably be discussing some spoilers as well once I get further into the show. I know I'm slightly early as well. Usually the show starts at 8, but I just thought I'd start a little early. It's only going to be a short stream. I mean, I guess I did break down the Guardians stream, and what was that like? That was like an hour and a bit. So yeah, I talk a lot. Don't shut up often. So there you go. Uh, First things first. What I wanted to touch on is this film. Before I get into the film, I'd like to touch on what my thoughts were going into it. Essentially, I when I was going to the cinema, I wanted to enjoy this film. To be brutally honest, you know, everyone was saying it's a masterpiece. Tom Cruise thinks it's a masterpiece. Blah 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 blah. And there was a certain part of a certain thought in the back of my brain saying, hey, maybe there is something to this. Maybe there is some good story in here. And when you watched it, and then you kind of digested it for about like I don't know an hour or so, you quickly realized how the movie fell apart, essentially. Um, yeah, so I came in semi-optimistic. Oh, I'm gonna see Michael Keaton's Batman. I'm gonna see time travel shenanigans and some possibly some cameos as well. That's mainly what I was thinking. Maybe it'll be flawed but enjoyable. Unfortunately, my enjoyment was the flaws outweighed my enjoyment essentially. I wouldn't say this film is as bad as the uh new Marvel movies, for instance. Like you like the internal Shang-Chi, She-Hulk and whatnot. It's not that level of bad, but it it is an interesting kind of bad. The Flash. Um, yeah. So I didn't hate the film. But the more that I think about it, the more I think it is an absolute dumpster fire of a movie. I think Drinker said this in this video that he called it a Frankenstein movie, and you can definitely see that this movie has been reshot, shot, and reshot again. Um, there's a whole history of you know stuff that went on behind the scenes that I'll probably get into it in the live stream. Um, but yeah, what I try to do is give films a enjoyment score and a objective writing quality overall score, essentially. So that two different scores that I normally do in my reviews. And I think I'd give hmm, enjoyment level. I did find some of the jokes funny. Okay, I laughed. Um, Especially when they were making fun of the Flash's run. I I kind of enjoyed that. Uh, Binoculars. Hello there, and welcome to the chat. I didn't care to see Misla's hind end, so default mode engaged. Skip. Yeah, it's funny that you mentioned that. In this movie, there were several Ezra Miller jokes and that left me wondering, did they film this before his criminal spree or after his criminal spree? Like, literally, there's multiple scenes where, um, he puts a baby in a microwave, but not to turn it on, just to keep it, you know, so you can move it essentially in the Speed Force and whatnot. Um, did you feel like it was Flash in time while watching? No? That sounds weirdly, uh, dirty-minded there, Stiletto. Uh, no. Although, the audience, I guess, was, really bored, like, in my theater, like, literally, there were literally, kids in the credits, like, running up and down the stairs, across the screen all the time. I don't know, maybe they were getting food or something. It was a Thursday, so I guess, no one really goes to cinemas on a Thursday. It's always Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. Um, and then, yeah, they were, like, making, like, essentially silhouettes in the camera when the credits were rolling, and it's just I wanted to throw something at them, because even though it's a shit movie, you do not act like that in the theaters, you know? I guess us British people have, like, this cordial thing, you will act like a human being and be silent and sit in your bloody seat. Sometimes I hate kids, you know, and these kids could not behave, absolutely not. So, but again, it's the Flash, so I guess if it was Oppenheimer, I would just kick them out of the theater. If it was an actual important film, but it was just Flash, like, let them goof around. Um, it was in production up until Zaslav and Gunn in to fully reboot. Yeah, the thing about that is just they made this film pointless. You know, with the cameos, with the whatnot, and it's kind of like, okay, we spent too much money on this film, but we have to release it anyway. You know, it is kind of weird, to be honest. Why not just shelve it like Batgirl? I probably would have. Unruly kids are irritating to Americans too. Okay, American theaters, right? Right, I've seen the footage, right? You guys literally cheer like at every moment in Endgame. Like, I would find that incredibly annoying, you know, to watch it. I don't know. Maybe that's just me, but in a theater you should be silent. You know, it's like a play. You know, we do cheer. Yeah, you cheer too much. You absolutely cheer too much. Uh, yeah, especially when like if like dialogue's unreadable, like for instance in Tenet, and you want to hear what's actually going on because you can't hear absolutely nothing. And you kind of want to hear the film, you know, because it's not like you can, rewind it back and just play it again, unless you have subtitles on. Uh, yeah. So where was I? Yes, I was getting to like these jokes. I should probably find a tweet for it. That I recently tweeted. I'll share it for you guys. The kind of jokes this film had that just left me wondering. Did they think of these jokes after or before Ezra Miller's criminal spree? Because, dear God, um, if it was before, that is just like the gift of prophecy. So, yeah, I suppose I'll share this. Uh, hopefully, uh, and I mean hopefully, WB don't strike me down with any copyrightisms. I don't think they will. Hopefully, I mean they didn't copyright strike this tweet, so yeah, this little scene. Yeah. So the Flash essentially rescues a bunch of babies, right? And he put one of them in the microwave because that's funny. And J. Longbow says here, unintentional Ezra Miller jokes in the flesh. Maybe there's rubbery like hell, and the lady screams. And then, you got that, Ezra Miller expression right over there. It's just a bit so, yeah, and I just left myself asking here. I honestly can't believe someone looked at the scene and thought to himself, those suspicious things Ezra did with kids? Yeah, let's keep this film in the film. Why not? It's just like, did they have any thought in their minds, essentially? Hey, maybe we should not include this scene. You know, uh, didn't Ezra Miller like kidnap people, kidnap them into their mansions, and can't remember the other stuff he did. He was accused of kidnapping one kid and getting some kids into his mansion where they played literally with bullets that were lying around, and there was a bunch of drugs in the house as well, something like that. Yeah. So Ezra Miller, not the best around kids, especially babies. Uh, all sorts of that stuff, and it's just then you see him also, his clothes, come off essentially. When he tries to run and his clothes like burn off, and it's just like, oh yeah, until I told you what to call. Yeah, assault, kidnapping, endangerment, accusations of starting a cult. Oh, I forgot about that one. Unlawful possession of weapons, etc., etc. Yeah, you stole that right out of me. Yes, yes, and yes. It was definitely. It was definitely. I'd love to be like a fly in the room and just see their thought process. Like, should we keep this in the film? Yeah, let's keep this in the film. Did they have no sense of like, maybe we shouldn't put this out there with all the PR disaster that Ezra Miller has been. We wouldn't want to add, coal to the fire essentially. And kind of every time I saw those kinds of jokes, I just thought of Ezra Miller's Criminal Spree, and then I thought of Ezra Miller's Criminal Spree, then maybe other audience thought of it too, and that doesn't make for a comfortable viewing. Essentially, when you're just thinking about, oh, the superhero, the actor that is playing this guy is a piece of shit. It's not really. It's not really. You want something in the back of your mind when you're watching a superhero film, but there were some jokes I would say were funny in this. Like I really did like the joke of the Flash running. I felt like that was making fun of the run itself. Uh, yeah, cult leader type of stuff. Yeah, yeah, exactly. Cult leader. Like, jeez, how many drugs has this guy taken? And not only is there one Ezra in this film, there's actually three Ezras in the middle. Spoiler warning, by the way. I will be diving into spoilers. I don't think you guys would care because the film is an absolute mess. So I was worried about spoilers beforehand, because I was hearing about some cameos. I did get those spoiled, unfortunately. Thanks, Mr. Berg. He was tweeting about it. A bit salty about that, but you know, it's because I have bad luck with spoilers. Essentially, I got spoiled. The fact that Han Solo died before Force Awakens released. I got spoiled the fact that I think I got spoiled the fact that Andrew and Toby. I was like keeping well away from spoilers until YouTube thumbnail got me. Essentially, I was so good at keeping myself away from No Way Home spoilers, uh, until that freaking YouTube thumbnail. There's always something that. Ex- exactly. Can you spoil Gal? No, you can't. I, the thing is, I was expecting it to be at least mediocre, you know, but no, definitely wasn't. This game I heard there are three of them. Yes, yes, there are three of them. Um, First there are two, then there are three. Uh, I suppose before I go into the plot synopsis and whatnot, I suppose we'll get a little history behind what happened during the Flash. Nedroza made a great video that essentially I wanted to share with you guys. She talks a bit about stuff that went on behind the scenes, stuff that I completely forgot about, in all honesty, and I found it educational. So I thought you guys would find it educational too.
I don't think I'm going out on a limb by saying that this film has been a bit of a problem, and I'm not even talking about Ezra Miller yet.
Yeah. So apart from the elephant in the room, that's Ezra Miller. There were other problems with this film which I blanked out on, to be honest. This film was announced after BVS, and BVS was 2016, so that's actually I'm not sure. It could have been announced before BVS. I'm not entirely sure. But yeah, minimum this film was in the making for like 7 years, I think, which is ridiculous.
DCEU iteration of The Flash was announced almost 10 years ago, and a lot has happened since then, including with The Flash going through almost as many directors as Kathleen Kennedy's.
Exactly. Yeah, yeah. Now, I remember like 3 or 4 directors, but Nadrotic goes into them here, and then there's quite a list.
Speaking of her, they hired Phil Lord and Chris Miller to direct The Flash and lost Chris Miller.
Yeah. Those guys have get a bunch of movies and then get thrown out of them. So there's Solo, and there's the Flash movie as well, which is great.
And Phil Lord, who went on to get fired from Solo and then make Miles Morales movies. After that, they hired Seth Grahame-Smith, and then they lost Seth Grahame-Smith. Following that, they hired Rick Famuyiwa, and then they lost Rick Famuyiwa.
So that's 3. Are you keeping count? There's 3 directors right there. God damn.
Not to worry, the brain trust at the WB at that time, which was America's dumbest company, was just getting started. Then they hired Joby Harold to do a page 1 rewrite. Then it was time for Warner Brothers to get serious about a director for The Flash, because most studios go through 4 directors before they settle on a 5th. They asked Robert
good God.
Zemeckis, who conveniently came down with a scheduling conflict.
Whoops. That would have been a good choice, to be honest, but
not to worry, they have Ben Affleck in-house. He's not going to say no, but he did.
They even offered it to Ben Affleck. Now, I had no idea that they did. They offered it to Ben freaking Affleck. God damn. Good old Gareth of his mother's never spelling the word as truth. Yes. I just find this, whole chaotic behind the scenes stuff interesting, We're not going to go through all of the video, just the beginning part. I just wanted to clue you guys in on the kerfuffle that was behind the scenes, essentially.
After that, they were rejected by the likes of Sam Raimi, Matthew Vaughn, Mark Webb, and Jordan Peele. Warner Brothers finally...
So a lot of rejections there as well. So not only were there directors that worked on it and then quit, they did offer several other directors and they rejected it, essentially.
They got some good news because they hired John Francis Daly and Jonathan Goldstein. Then they lost John Francis Daly and Jonathan Goldstein.
I'm not familiar with them. Dungeons and Dragons on their own fees. Oh, okay.
It was time to go back to the drawing board, and this time Ezra Miller was going to take the reins and write a script with Grant Morrison, which Warner Brothers turned down.
Okay, that is ridiculous. You never turn down famous comic writers. They know the characters like the shape of their hand, essentially. You don't. If you have a freaking comic book writer writing a script for you, keep the goddamn guy in there. That was firing freaking Grant Morrison is a stupid ass mistake. I have no idea why they would turn down a script from him. No. You see, Edge of Time for instance, the Spider-Man game, that was written by comic writers, which is why it's remembered so fondly. It wasn't really the best Spider-Man game, but the interactions between Miguel O'Hara and Peter Parker were absolutely gold in that film. Really good stuff. You don't fire Grant Morrison for this particular reason. Yeah, Warner Brothers, America's dumbest company. I saw some assets of G on screen. There's a decent enough base, even if you're not interested in dedicated production of it. Yeah. I'm just saying, joking. The joke. Okay. Okay. So the messiest production. Yes. Yes. It definitely is. It definitely is.
Warner Brothers finally settled on It director Andy Muschietti. What's up, Quarter Black?
Yo, it's Andy Machete.
Oh, it's Andy Muschietti.
Yeah.
Machete. I like it. Machete. Even though it's not spelled that way, but yeah.
Not Muschietti.
Nope.
Gotcha. Sorry, Andy Muschietti, which, to be fair, on the surface sounds like a good decision until he brought on Christina Hodson, the writer of the disaster Birds of Prey.
Yeah, I saw her name in the credits, and I was like, oh. That explains why this is very shit. You know, I think without her, maybe it would have been somewhat shit. But her, you're just peppering it. I have no idea why she's still in there after Birds of Prey. Apparently she is in James's Gunn writing group. I hope she isn't. I pray to God that she isn't. Good God. She was going to write. I'm pretty sure it's her. Birds of Prey writers. They were going to write a Batman Beyond movie with Michael Keaton, but it got cancelled. So we dodged the bullet. We absolutely dodged the bullet there.
And the problems don't end there. I'd be remiss not to mention the hiring of James Gunn, the reboot of the DCEU into the DCU, and the firing of Henry Cavill, followed by the flop Black Adam and the flop Shazam. And they still have a year left of lame duck films, including The Flash, Blue Beetle, and Aquaman 2 with Amber Turd. And if all this wasn't enough, this brings us to The Flash's star, who's playing himself twice. As
Yeah. So, what kind of genius had this idea? I don't know. Ezra Miller is not. I didn't feel like he was. If it was any other actor, I would have been much more invested in him. Watching it, I was surprised that it was a Flash movie because the marketing made it seem like it's going to be Michael Keaton's Batman, starring Ezra Miller as well. He's in the side, you know. That's what the marketing felt like. But yeah, it was definitely a Flash film, which is a good thing and a bad thing because it's it's Ezra Miller. So
Ezra Miller.
Learn it? Did you want to fight? Is that the deal?
oh, good God,
Whoa, bro. Fight?
good God, that is hard to watch. That is incredibly hard to watch.
This is a message for the Beulahville.
Oh God. All right, let's get through this.
Chapter of the North Carolina Ku Klux Klan. Look, if y'all want to die, I
Why are you saying this?
suggest just killing yourselves with your own guns.
Okay, that's nice.
Okay?
Hawaii County Police Department
Just look at his face. There, just that smile is just like.
arrested
I'm sure the Ku Klux Klan will take that to heart, essentially. What are you doing? It's stupid.
and charged Miller with disorderly conduct and harassment following an incident in a karaoke bar in Honolulu on Sunday night.
A couple in Hilo have filed a temporary restraining order against Hollywood actor Ezra Miller after Miller allegedly barged into their bedroom.
A guy in that bar declared himself as
Look at him here. He just looks like freaking Joker. I'm pretty sure I did a video on this. Reporting on the news. It's kind of a while back.
A couple in Hilo have filed a temporary restraining order against Hollywood actor Ezra Miller after Miller allegedly barged into their bedroom.
a guy in that bar declared himself as a Nazi. I have it on film, and he attacked me. I claim my Fourth Amendment rights to not be unlawful. Hey, you just touched my penis. Please don't do that.
Good God. It's like he was exactly like this in the movie. I just that's something Barry Allen would say in the movie. It's like he wasn't acting at all, just acting like himself. He's actually that weird, you know. Watching that little clip right there. Oh, good God.
That they alleged Ezra was grooming their daughter, Takata Iron Eyes, and has been doing this since Takata was 12 years old.
Another parent comes forward with allegations against the actor. According to the Daily Beast, a Massachusetts mother and her now 12-year-old child were granted a temporary harassment prevention order against the 19-year-old actor.
How does this guy still have a job?
Well, more trouble for actor Ezra Miller. Miller has been charged with felony burglary in Vermont. This is the latest in a string of recent incidents involving the embattled star of The Flash.
Claims against embattled actor Ezra Miller continue to mount. In a new report by Rolling Stone, a Hawaii father says he is concerned for his 3 children who are staying with their mom on the actor's farm in Vermont. The father claims there are guns and marijuana easily
Doesn't this just make you want to hit your head against the wall?
accessible to them.
I know what you're thinking, dear viewer. If any of us did all of that, we'd be in jail, but we don't have Ezra Miller's Hollywood privilege and his ability to describe half the producers in Tinseltown's junk. And that's why you haven't seen any press from Ezra Miller. And the only time he will be showing up is today at time of recording at the red carpet for The Flash, only to take photos.
So, yeah. That's the story of The Flash. Great parents. Oh yeah, definitely. You know, laying them near someone like Ezra Miller. I mean, it's star power. Oh, he's a famous actor. You know, don't you know? Yeah. I would not let any kids near that guy at all. So, yeah, this movie had everything against it, essentially. So not only do you have like 5 or 6 directors, you have all of that to add. You have numerous script writers, including one of them, the Birds of Prey writer. Yeah, I don't know why I thought I'd enjoy this film. When you look at it through what went on, yeah, this was a dumpster fire from the get-go, and I have no idea what the intention was behind Michael Keaton's Batman. Why isn't Michael Keaton, for instance? I don't feel like they explained it very well. Essentially, what they did is just say, "Oh, when you time travel, you essentially go to a different multiverse." Right. So that's not time. It's. I don't feel like it was a good explanation as to why exactly we're seeing Michael Keaton in this timeline. I thought like the Flashpoint Paradox did a much better setup of that, of it being Thomas Wayne who uses guns. Like, would you have not rather seen Thomas Wayne with red eyes, cowl, Batman with guns, played by Jeffrey Dean Morgan? I mean, I would have taken that, to be honest. They brought in Michael Keaton because Batgirl got cancelled and needed to prop up the Flash with something. Yeah, but I'm pretty sure Michael Keaton got announced for this movie first. And then it was also said that, oh, Michael Keaton will be in Batgirl as well. Which confuses me because that universe is technically like dead, you know? Barry can't really go back to it unless he wants to save his mother again. There won't be any Flash Keaton Batman. So how on earth was Michael Keaton's Batman meant? So, okay, so would Batgirl take place in another universe where there's no Superman, no Aquaman, and no Wonder Woman? That is confusing as hell. So yeah, you can easily tell that this movie has been in development hell. Yeah. To production around the pandemic, so its budget was completely screwed. Right. Yeah. Okay. Yeah, definitely. Anyway, let's break down some scenes in here. Spoileries. One of the things that I really didn't like was the ending scene. I think the ending of it annoyed me so much that I start out of the theater. I was like, I was a bit annoyed at the thing. During the movie itself, I did find some enjoyment in it until that ending kind of annoyed me, where they just, they revealed, they revealed, that Barry is talking to George Clooney, Batman, and I'm like, okay, so is this guy the brave and the bold Batman? Why is it George Clooney? Oh, it's a joke, right? So how are they going to explain the fact that in Batman Brave and the Bold it's different Batman? I was heavily confused there. I suppose in the end, it's a entirely the Batman Brave and the Bold, the one that and Machete has in his hands now. I suppose that will be like a completely different universe to the Snyder thing, Snyder universe. That is my guess, but I was kind of annoyed because what I thought would have been logical is to essentially introduce James Gunn's Batman in here, but I guess they couldn't essentially because they're nowhere near casting that. But I don't know. I just didn't find it funny that they just I guess it was for a joke, but it's just like, okay, so you're only making things more confusing by having another new Batman essentially. And that kind of didn't sit well with me. And because of that scene, I kind of thought about the film more and came to a conclusion that this film is an absolute mess. The CGI was completely atrocious as well. So, as part of Anna Simon's all-female Trinity for DC to the film, Batgirl and Supergirl in this film we're going to take our covers. Yeah, I did hear about that. The funny thing is, I did not find Supergirl insufferable in this movie. I thought I would, but I didn't. I kind of liked her. She was definitely easy on the eye. As what am I referencing there? Easy on the eye. was it some comic writer on Twitter? I can't remember who said that. I'm referencing someone, but I completely forgot who I'm referencing. Anyway, yeah, she was attractive. Let's say that. And I didn't hate her. Although I just kind of find it funny that she was only like what 15 minutes in the film, and then she just dies repeatedly to Zod. I was a bit like, huh. Not only do you get like not a lot of screen time, but you also die repeatedly. I just found that interesting, I guess. And I wish she could have done something more, like I don't know. Same for Michael Keaton's Batman. Although he had some good action scenes, didn't really have an arc. I guess. I mean, he's sort of needed convincing to help Barry, but that's about it. Again, it was a Thomas Wayne Batman. A proper Flashpoint adaptation would have been the way to go. But yeah, this film was doomed from the get go, I guess. Wasn't there a scene from both Flashes and Supergirl right at battle, and it looks straight from a customer? Yeah, yeah, there were all sorts of bad CGI in here. I think the worst is when Barry time travels, essentially. Those are the worst scenes like ever. And apparently the director stepped up and said, "Oh no, those are meant to look bad." And I'm like, really, really? I don't think those are meant to look that atrocious at all. But yeah, it was quite terrible. They looked like PS2 characters. I'm sorry for insulting the PS2. PlayStation 2 was my first console, so I'm pretty sure my first game was Revenge of the Sith game, Star Wars, and Spider-Man 2. Although there was like a certain level, I'm pretty sure when I got to the first campaign mission, the first story mission, it just froze, and then when I played it again, it just started from the beginning essentially, and I didn't know how to fix it, unfortunately. So I didn't get to play a lot. But anyway, we're talking about the Flash. See, Spider-Man 2 on the PS2 is a much more interesting topic for me than this movie. I'm already getting bored of it just thinking about it. What else really annoyed me about this film? Oh yeah, so in this film, there's something else I want to mention. It's deliberately vague as to who killed Barry's mum, essentially. So what Barry does is I'll give him this. At least he wants to be careful when saving his mum. Essentially, what he tries to do is essentially just buy a tomato can in order so that his dad stays in the kitchen and his mother isn't left alone. And in doing so, no one ever intrudes in the house and kills Barry's mum. Right? That's the basic premise. A simple tomato can. Sounds simple, right? But it's actually stupid. Right. So why would Barry assume that, you know, his father being there would change anything? What if that would make things worse and have both his mum and dad killed? I don't see how that tomato can saves your mum, Barry, especially with the fact that the director recently confirmed that indeed the Reverse Flash did indeed kill Barry's mother. The more you think about this, the more this is stupid. And there's this little comic here nails hits the nail on the head. That's the saying I'm looking for. I saw this meme repository from MeFab retweeted this, and I just found it absolutely hilarious. You know, you have your Thrawn essentially sneaking up, about to kill Barry's mum. You know, like you do. Then he sees the tomatoes and both of them in the house, and he's just like, "Fuck! I can't kill them anymore." You know, I'm just here to kill Barry's mum. It is quite stupid when you think about it, and there's numerous scenes like this when you just slightly think about it. It doesn't make a lick of sense. So yeah, I hope you get a chuckle out of it. It did laugh out on me. So his diabolical plans are stopped by a can of tomatoes. So I don't know. I guess shall we go through what exactly he said? Yeah, I suppose we can. So direct quote is here. So he was asked about it, Andy Muschietti. Well, Reverse Flash is the elephant in the room, right? It feels like can't make any other movie without addressing the one that, in all accounts, is the murderer of Barry's mum. So it feels like the big bad villain. Right. You have a point, Andy. Why on earth didn't you include him in the film? Isn't this a Flash movie? A Flashpoint movie? Well, Reverse Flash plays a very big role in that story. I have no idea why they started with the Reverse Flash story in the first place. It seems absolutely ridiculous. It's like starting a freaking Death of Superman in the freaking third Superman movie. Oh no, wait, they did do that, didn't they? So I guess Warner Brothers is indeed the world's dumbest company. So they went straight to the most popular Flash story, and no wonder this film is an absolute mess. They should have just scrapped the idea of doing Flashpoint. Essentially, there are elements of Flashpoint here, but it's done really stupidly. They didn't have a Flash movie in mind. This movie is meant to reset the Snyder in the dumbest possible way. Yes. But you see, first, Diletto, it was meant to reboot it into the new era of the DC EU, essentially. That's what it was meant to reboot it to like a Batgirl, Supergirl phase of the movies. Under Hamada's regime. And now it's rebooting it into Guns movies, but I'm not sure how, in what way we'll see this movie. Are we going to see? I don't think we're getting Ezra Miller back. In all honesty, I don't think he's coming back because this movie made 58 million over the weekend, and that is fucking terrible. It was predicted to make 70 something million. I think that's even lower than Black Adam. So this movie is an absolute bomb. So I don't think Ezra Miller's returning. This is something I tried to bring up in these streams. They want to reboot the Snyder, but they needed a big event to do it. No, they'd be dragging the Snyderverse along with it. Yes, and yeah, it's stupid. Yeah, as soon as if I were the right to do this, I would just absolutely tell upper management, tell the director, tell everyone, this should not be a Flashpoint movie at all. Like, at all. To do this is insane, and how about we start with his origin? You know, how about we start with I don't know, someone like Captain Cold. Like, there's not a lot people know about the Flash. I'm sure he's an interesting character you could do an interesting movie about. But literally, the Flashpoint is the most popular story that you do not do as a first movie. It's just you're shooting yourself in the foot, and unnecessarily so. You can account to whatever new this idea that one I had before Zafla bought it out. Yeah. So Yeah, so when you think about it, this movie has been in the making of like through numerous regimes, and you can kind of see why that adds to it being like a Frankenstein movie, because I don't think they know what the point of this movie was. To do a reboot. But you didn't do a reboot, really. I don't feel like this rebooted anything. What? So we have a George Clooney Batman now from now? You know? It didn't feel like you were rebooting stuff. It feels nonsensical, really. And that's what I expected from this movie going in, you know? A proper reboot of The Flash and everything in it. And I didn't really feel that was the case. I didn't feel like it was a good send off to the Snyder films. Even if you like, even if you like or don't like the Snyder films, I don't feel like this was a good final movie. I suppose the last Snyderverse film is going to be Aquaman. Uh, so maybe that will be like a final hurrah. Apparently, Ben Affleck did record some scenes in that one. They'll probably cut them out, judging by this. Henry Cavill was cut out of the ending as well, which is all sorts of confusing. But yeah, this film was incredibly confusing. They made 10 seasons of a TV show out of The Flash. There's enough material to make a film. Make it about Flash stopping the main Ruggles guy from pulling off a major heist. See, I think that was the original idea. I don't think this movie was originally announced as a Flashpoint movie. I'm pretty sure like someone like the Mirror Master, like a female Mirror Master was meant to be in this. Or something or other. I can't remember the name. The dude does something with mirrors, and then the villain like traps you like a mirror dimension, Doctor Strange style. Yeah. So that seems like an interesting power. Definitely, you could experiment with. But I'm pretty sure. 2019, 2018, they announced it was like kind of like a reverse Flash, and they were like, okay. And then it's like Ben Affleck, Batman, and whatnot. Yeah, see this movie, and it's just like, this is not how you write a good story. It's definitely. I don't feel like this movie took risks. Really, it's just like they jungled them nostalgia keys with Michael Keaton, and that's about it. I didn't feel like it was much of a reboot. Essentially, um, I didn't feel like this movie did anything of big consequence. Essentially, um, yeah, I didn't feel like it did. There was no story here that was consequential. Sure, Barry learns that his mother has to die, but it's just like, okay, so let's hypothetically, right? Let's say Barry says, okay, I can't save my mother, so yeah, I guess I just have to put the tomato can back, let the events of time flow. And then let's say, uh, then let's say Barry does find out, oh no, this Reverse Flash guy, he killed my mom. I have to stop him. But Barry, didn't you just learn the fact that you have to let your mother die? So you see, it doesn't make even more sense that it's Reverse Flash killing her. It's just this could have all been avoided if it wasn't a Flashpoint movie. And Ezra Miller does not learn anything in this movie, right? It's just like this big lesson of. This is another thing that really annoyed me about the film is essentially, Barry has to learn that the whole time travel nonsense thing is this predetermined. There are some things that are predetermined and you can't change, no matter how hard you try. We had that evil Flash as well, who constantly tried to, change the past and blah, 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 and you couldn't do anything about it. And so he goes back, doesn't tape his mom, and he says, okay, I can't mess with her. But then he does make a change in rearranging the tomato shells and getting his dad to face the camera so he has a rockstone alibi in court and he can get out of jail. Oh, okay, so you didn't really learn anything, Barry, did you? So by the end of the movie, you still messed around with time to your liking, essentially. If you actually learned the lesson that was meant to be learned in this film, you wouldn't have your father would be still in jail, essentially. Just like, I'm gonna, have my cake and eat it too. So there's no real lesson learned here, essentially. There's no story in here. There's no journey that the main character has been on, essentially. What do you click later? Well, thank you for that, Trying I do appreciate your support. Uh, yeah. So what I'm trying to say is this film is uh, useless for the main character. He has no heroic journey in here, and yeah, the more I think about it, the more ridiculous it gets. Yeah, WB don't handle fixed point times in well. Yeah, neither does Across the Spider-Verse. Like, I'm tired of freaking predetermined BS in time travel movies. I think it's a stupid plot point, but it should be like you can change things, but if you change one thing, you change a whole multitude of things, and I kind of like the idea of time travel being like you essentially hit a weasel, and then like 50 more weasels show up, and you have to all hit them with a hammer, essentially. So if you like essentially move one thing, you can change a multitude of different things. Kind of like this essentially dominoes falling. So it's very hard to change it back, essentially. So if you change one thing, you change it. And it being chaotic in a way. Now that would be a fun time travel concept to explore, but no, we have this predetermined BS, essentially. I don't know. I didn't buy the fact that Zod won the final battle, essentially. I just thought, okay, you have freaking two Flashes in here. Literally, the Flash could just, spin his hand around really fast and just plunge it into Zod's chest, and voila, he's dead. You ripped his heart out. Speedsters are really powerful, and I don't see how two of them in here can't take on Zod alone. They should be powerful. They should be able to do that. Literally just rip him. And bear in mind, Zod also has the helmet thing. Like, Superman, on his own, defeated the entirety of Zod's army. Why can't Michael Keaton's Batman, Supergirl, and freaking two Flashes take them on? I just don't see that as possible, really. I reckon that's just a bunch of BS. I don't see how they're losing that fight, in all honesty. And compare that to the Flashpoint paradox, what they freaking have is the situation is absolutely hopeless. Diana and Aquaman are in this brutal war, and literally there's nothing you can do to stop it. It's just fighting till the bitter end. Whereas he has all troops deployed. Yeah. I mean, are we literally going to have to go back to Man of Steel? Like, literally, Barry, why can't you just remember the events of Man of Steel and say, hey, Zod was defeated this way, so why don't we just use the same method? Wouldn't that be a smart thing to do? But no, predetermined BS, essentially. Yeah. Which I just do not buy. And that's why the Flashpoint Paradox comic is so interesting, because, yeah, he did save his mom. He did change time, but he also changed time in such a drastic way because of that. He has to put things back. And in here, it's just like, yeah, he changed this little event, but he can't change anything more, you know? I just... And the fact that he can, you know... This whole time travel thing should be way less easier for him to do. I felt like it was too easy for him. Like, literally, there was a level of difficulty for the Flash in the animated movie for him to do it, essentially. And in this movie, he could essentially do it whenever he liked. Well, Zod had his neck snapped by Clark in MOS, so maybe this was the issue. Flash could fucking... Supergirl could snap his neck. I mean, come on. If Clark could, she could do it. Like, I don't doubt it. Literally, just take the freaking... his finger off his mask. That helps him function in Earth's atmosphere. And he's done for. Literally. That's all you have to do. Just aim for the mask. Or just send them to the Phantom Zone. I'm pretty sure they did that in Man of Steel. That's all you had to do. No one thought of that, literally. Didn't Supergirl like think of that, or Michael? If Michael Keaton was so freaking smart with, you know, telling Barry about the whole multiverse thing, and you know, telling him also about reconstructing the whole Flash accident as well, why did no one think, hey Barry, how did your Superman defeat, essentially by himself, the entirety of Zod's army? That would have been a good question to ask. Too bad this movie didn't create a time paradox into multiverse. I think a scene like that would be something that the movie could have used. Yeah. Exactly. There's a clip from the Flash show where Johnny Weepy Snipes and the Green Gustin character talk about how time travel works with a teacup breaking and Jada is putting the piece back, saying you can't put it back. Okay. I don't know. Any way you slice it, time travel is gonna be a pain. They should have not. How about you just don't do time travel? You know, that would have been a smart thing to do. But hey, I guess they didn't have enough time for that. Anyway, I'm gonna call it here, unfortunately, guys. I know, it's gonna be a short stream, but yeah, I think those are all my thoughts. Literally, this. I think I had more to say about Guardians because there were so many good scenes, and there were so many bad scenes as well. In this movie, I just feel oblivious. Really, I just feel apathy at this point. Like, in the end, this film does nothing for me. And honestly, I'm struggling to talk about it as much as I did with Guardians. With Guardians, I had a lot to say about that, but here I'm just quickly forgetting about this film. It's already retreating to the back of my mind. Maybe it helps in doing so that with the Guardian stream, you know, I streamed that right after right after going to the cinema, you know. So maybe I remembered more parts of it. Thanks for the live stream. Yeah, you're welcome. I was definitely wanted Mr. Bug in here because I think he's the only one I know that watched the film. I'm sure he had some definitely controversial. I suppose we could also talk about the cameo scenes, you know, Nick Cage Superman and classic Christopher Reeve Superman. I was just like, oh yeah, okay, yeah, they're there. What about it? You know, again, like I say, apathy. I'm slowly starting to forget this film even was a thing. So yeah, that's all I have. That's all my thoughts on the Flash. So hopefully, Superman Legacy will be a good film. Fingers crossed. Because this, yeah, the Christopher Reeves, yeah, the CGI on them were atrocious. Very much so. I don't think many people are gonna understand the Nick Cage Superman scene, but yeah, I don't think the normie audience will understand that it was a cancelled Superman movie, essentially. But yeah, that was the Flash, everyone. Enjoyment level at 5. Writing quality maybe a 3 or 4. This movie was a mess, and I don't doubt it. The more I think about it, the worse it's gonna get. Especially the whole kerfuffle with Barry not learning a thing throughout this film. Essentially, there's no growth here. He still changed time to his liking, and ended up with a George Clooney. And the whole kerfuffle around his mother's murder, and the whole predetermined thing, and the whole flimsy explanation of why we're looking at Michael Keaton Batman. Yeah, there was this movie. I'm gonna forget about this movie, like in a week's time. Hopefully, that won't be the case with Mission Impossible and Oppenheimer. Definitely looking forward to watching those movies. And yeah, doing a deep dive in there with some peeps. So yeah, that'll be all for the stream. Again, thank you everyone for watching, and I'll see you all guys later. In a nutshell, uh, I'll leave you guys with the enter. I do want to see Oppenheimer though, hopefully on a big screen. Yes, on an IMAX screen, on the biggest of biggest screens. All right, I'll play the intro. I'll see you guys all later. Toodle pip.